Hi, this is Sean Murphy of SK Murphy. I'll be the MC for this Thursday, March 9th webinar by the Professional and Technical Consultants Association, PATCA. You can learn more about PATCA at patc.org. Today, we're fortunate to have a briefing by Leisa Reid, founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now. Lisa's delivered more than 600 talks and helps her clients book talks, prepare for them, and deliver them. She has a bachelor's and a master's in speech communication from Cal State Fullerton and has taught interpersonal communication there. Leisa will share expert strategies to build your consulting practice through speaking. Leisa.
Thank you, Sean. Welcome, everyone. And I am going to give a warning right now. I'm going to stop share sometimes. I'm going to start to share sometimes. So if you are in a situation in which you can be on video, I'd love to see you. We are going to do some homework in class, like I like to say, so that we actually learn as we go. There'll be engagement. You'll get to ask questions. We'll put stuff in the chat so you can wave your arms to get my attention or put it in the chat. Sean will be looking to see if you have something you want to chime in and say or ask. We can utilize our time really valuably. All right. A little bit about moi. Yes, I'm from Orange County, California. Still live there. Well, actually, I'm from Alaska, but I have lived in Orange County now for over 30 years and came here to go to college and fell in love with the weather, decided never to return. And then it just snowed this week, which is really not, I did not see that in the fine print in my contract when I moved to Orange County, but apparently they snuck it in. So things that I find people ask a lot about when it comes to public speaking, there's a lot of myths around there. And especially as an entrepreneur or consultant trying to really build your own business, these are the questions like, well, how would I actually get booked for a gig? How can I get clients? And then how do I make money? Right? Like that's a real question everybody has. Like, how do I actually make money doing this? Because as a consultant or an entrepreneur, business owner, you're building a business. I like to think of speaking as one of the funnest, most effective ways to grow my business instead of a soul-sucking way, which there are a lot of soul-sucking ways. I don't know if you have a particular flavor that you do not like in growing your business, but for me, the less I can be doing admin stuff without other people and the more I can be connecting with people, I love that. So I find that a lot of us in the coaching consulting realm, we have a lot of expertise that we can share. We're used to facilitating, training, teaching, speaking, explaining, things like that. It's a really fun way to market to a lot of people, but have fun while you're doing it and really feel fulfilled while you're doing it. So today we're going to cover those three key areas in as much as I can in our short time together. I'm going to talk about the number one secret to speaking referrals. And this does not involve cold calling. So yay, which is often a soul-sucking activity for entrepreneurs and consultants. Also, we'll talk about 2 speaker strategies to attract your ideal clients. And this is where we'll do a lot of interaction in the chat, and I'll be tracking the time to make sure that we land this plane on time, but I want to make sure to add value to all of you. So be thinking of how you can contribute when we get to that point in the chat. And I will take as many people's comments as I can and try to help and assist. And then we'll also cover what I call the speaker's monetization formula. This is something I created after speaking for a few years, and it's been about 10 years now that I've been speaking publicly. And no one had ever explained it to me this way. And I think a lot of times there's an entrepreneur, a consultant, when you're building your own business, you have a little bit of different challenges than maybe a typical business would have. Sometimes you're the only, you're the chief, bottle washer and the president and the CEO, you're doing all the jobs. So it's like, you want to see, where is my time best spent? How can I really make sure this is valuable? So I'm going to share what the monetization formula is. It's super simple. And then how you can tweak it and start to see, does this make sense for me? Should I be adding more of this speaking into my business? If what I'm doing, is it working? Where do I need to make some changes? Things like that. All right. A little bit on what I'm doing here and why I'm here. Sean had mentioned I did go to Cal State Fullerton, and I actually taught there when I was 22, which was only a couple of years ago. No, I'm just kidding. It was a while ago. Okay, let's be honest. It was a long time ago. When the dinosaurs were rolling in the earth is when I was teaching at Cal State Fullerton. But what I loved about it was the teaching aspect of it. What I didn't love about it was the publishing and the politics and the research. That's not my favorite thing. I know, Charles, you just published a paper, bow down, I'm not worthy. I don't enjoy that kind of writing. but I do enjoy teaching, and I'll put a couple things up here. I started speaking professionally 10 years ago for a personal development company based in Orange County. And all of my talks were in person, and they were all fairly local because I was using speaking as a way to educate people about the mind and how the mind worked, and really open up their opportunities to step into a personal development workshop. So they had to actually physically drive to a location. So it was a very location specific type of speaking. Because of that, I started what I call still the OC Speakers Network. It stands for Orange County, but we have people all over the world. Actually, we had someone in Africa come the other day because we're still virtual ever since March 2020. And I started that group because I thought, well, what better way to get speaking engagements and learn about this whole speaking thing by hanging out with other speakers. I'm glad to hear we have quite a few speakers on the call today. So you may have a shift in your relationship after this talk, because something I'm going to share a really cool superpower tip for you. It wasn't until 2017 that I started my business. And it was because I kept getting people asking me all the time, how do I get gigs? How do you get booked? How did you get that booking? Over and over and over again. I would usually average about 60 bookings a year. And this is, going 10 years now. So that's when finally one day I woke up and thought, okay, I guess there's a need here. And it's not so much, I know Sean mentioned I book people. I don't actually book people personally, but I do show them how to get booked. I'm a let me teach you how to fish versus a feed you a fish kind of a gal, because I think then you can train your VA team or whoever assisting you. You can have them help you if you don't want to do all that stuff. And I think that's super powerful. You can use this for the rest of your career. I talk a lot about for my clients, I want you to be able to be booked for the rest of your career, no matter where you live, no matter what you do, no matter how you transition through your career. Speaking is a way that you can really leverage. So I started the Get Speaking Gigs Now Academy. It's called the Speakers Training Academy now. And that's what we do. We figure out how do you get ready to be ready? Or if maybe you're out there speaking, but something's not working, how do we shift that? What holes in the boat do we have so that you can start making more money and attracting the clients that you love? So it's a little bit about me. Let's talk about that secret to a steady stream of speaking referrals. Real quick, does anyone here put in the chat if you love cold calling? Let me see if there's anybody on the call who loves cold calling. I'm seeing no. Let me see. Oh, I missed it. No, yeah. No. So far we've got 2 no's, right? Which is pretty typical. I think, especially nowadays, I don't even know if anyone uses the phone barely anymore. It's all texting and emailing and things like that. But I have found that warm leads and introductions get a way quicker, better response. I call it rolling out the red carpet. So let me show you how I do that and how I've been doing that for years. It's something I call it the Speaker Soulmate system. And it's something I made up totally organically. And it came from someone that I met at the OC Speakers Network many years ago. And here's what it is. There's 3 simple equations. I think someone might not be on mute, so make sure you mute yourself if you're blending up that morning shake or whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, so Speaker Soulmate is someone who speaks a similar frequency as you. So for example, at the time I was speaking about 5 times a month. So I found someone else who was speaking about that amount of times. If you're brand new to speaking or you're trying to get into speaking, maybe find someone else who's brand new or getting into it. That you can use your own common sense on that one. This one seems obvious, but you got to know, like, and trust this person. That might mean at the beginning, you need to put a little effort into that relationship. Maybe it's someone you think you like, but have you tested out if you send them a referral? Are they going to follow up? Are they going to show up? Are they going to represent you well? How much can you trust this person? Have you checked out their speaking videos or their workshops or their programs? That, what do you know about them to where you can really no, I'm going to hand you the keys to the kingdom. I need to make sure that you are ready to take them, right? You don't just want to hand the keys to the kingdom to anybody. So this is important. And a lot of times we think that we need to know so many people and, old school kind of give our cards out as many people as you can, that kind of old school thinking and networking. But this is a totally different way of doing it. It's really like I have like 3, maybe sometimes 4 speaker soulmates, and this is over years. And this is how I get hundreds of speaking engagements. Okay. Roll out the red carpet. I'm not chasing cold leads. I'm not researching on Google, spending a ton of time admin. Again, that soul sucking activity of looking through Google to try to find a speaking engagement. I say, no, thank you. So the third one is really like, I call it the Reese's peanut butter cup part, like the peanut butter and the chocolate come together. This is like the best part of it is you find someone who has those things, but also speaks to a similar audience as you, but they're not your competition, which of course in consulting, there's many facets of how different people use their skills in consulting. So actually, I'm going to have you put in the chat right now what type of consultant you are, like who are your people, or what's your special secret sauce that makes you different than all the other consultants on the call, right? We all have something unique and different about us. So as you read through the chat, take a look and see if there's anyone here in this room. We've got about 20 people here who might be a speaker soulmate for you. Now, if you don't like this person, obviously they're probably not going to be your speaker soulmate, but you don't need to tell them that. You just keep that to yourself, right? Okay, so we've got, let me look at the, okay, I'm going to go back to the, only a trade shows you. Okay, Debbie's operational effectiveness for growing medium-sized enterprises. Okay, so operations, machine vision technology. That's very different, right? Ecosystem, strategic alliances, collaborative business relationships. Okay. Google Workspace Cloud. So look through these. Who in here might be a possible speaker soulmate for you? Cross-function team collaboration, a lawyer from Orange County. Okay. Again, there's all different kinds of lawyers. So maybe that would be something good. Former CEO, data consulting, market researchers. There's a lot of different things on here. This is really cool because you can see the big variety in this, just this small group, this ecosystem of 19 people. Legal agreements, marketing, sales training. Okay, so Steve might want to hook up with Priyanka. She's a corporate lawyer, or there was another attorney. I saw. Yep. Oh, also Priyanka. So that might be something. Maybe if they need legal agreements, but they need these other things. See, it's already happening. It's happening right now. So how do you actually start to create this relationship? Just like anything else, think old school. Think like, it's almost like when we're little kids and you knock on the door, hey, do you want to come play at my house? Or do you want to have a play? Do you want to go outside and ride bikes? This is what this is like. You're just checking in with this person. I've got this new concept. I want to start speaking. I think you speak too. Can we have a conversation? What does that look like? Okay, get to know each other, right? We're not getting married on the first date. We're just having a date. Do we want to enter into this relationship? Then I will share with you that like one of my speaker soulmates has given me over 100 speaking engagements over the year. And like, this is me not having to do any work. Like she just emails the person and introduces me. And then we see if it's a fit, we get to move along and get this booked. And it's just so much fun. So I'm going to have you do a little bit of homework right now. Oh, and there's a slide here twice. That's okay. Guess we needed to hear it twice. Who is your speaker soulmate? So just jot down maybe 3 names that come to mind. If you are not interested in speaking, think who might be your business soulmate, like a business referral partner. Same kind of thing. Obviously, they're not speaking, but maybe someone who does a similar, has a similar audience, has a similar clientele, but is different. All right. And then add that to your to-do list. Let me reach out to this person, set up a virtual meeting, set up a phone call in the next couple of weeks. This could be a major game changer for your business, because if you can go out and start speaking, you're reaching many people instead of just the one-to-one. And you're totally exposing yourself to different markets, which is really cool. And now with virtual and Zoom, we have no borders. I mean, I've spoken all over the country, outside of the country, in different states, just even in the same day. So it's pretty, I'm happy to be in California today, and most of you I think are in California as well. But I was just speaking to somebody in where does she live? I was on a podcast earlier today and I don't even know what state she lives in. But anyway, okay. So let me stop the share real quick. Does anyone have, just go ahead and raise your hand. Do you have a couple people in mind that you're going to reach out to? Just lie to me and raise your hand. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But I really do want you to challenge you to think of somebody. Like Gabrielle, I know you are a speaker already. Do you have a couple people in mind that you could reach out to?
I belong to some networking organizations, and you're giving me some good thoughts about how to approach kind of looking for a soulmate.
Okay. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Put it out there. Start looking. Once you start opening your eyes, it's like what we're doing right now is literally taking blinders off. We're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna actually take blinders off and see, wow, I didn't think it could be that easy. Is it really that easy? I was just on a call with one of my clients yesterday and I'm teaching her how to do this, right? And so I introduced her to an organization that I thought would really benefit from her content. And I thought it'd be a good fit for what she does. Like it's like matchmaking, right? Like not every speaker is a good match for every single place. So we're matchmaking and I roll out that red carpet and send her that email to the organizer. And then she responds and even with that, I said, you're making it too hard. Like off the side, I didn't put this in the email, but I said, okay, let's make it even easier. How can you actually get that appointment booked right away? And I had that happen 2 days ago, twice, where instantly the call was booked. I was being booked for the speaking gig and it's just a couple emails. So it's so easy. Let me read the chat really quick. Debbie says, would love ideas on organizations that are good match and we'll pay you. Ha ha ha. Yes. Psychologist. Okay. So Debbie, great. Who in here has also heard of paid keynote speaking or paid speaking, or you can make money as a paid speaker? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've probably all heard of it. But then there's like, how does that work? And yes. And great question. Steve saying, are you paid for speaking or is it marketing your skills? It can be both, either or, both and. So I want you to really sort of expand I was just interviewed on a podcast earlier today and we had this very conversation. One of the most common questions I get is, well, how do you get paid speaking? And I'm like, well, first of all, we need to figure out, are you ready for that? Are you positioned for that? Are your clients at those types of events? What are you good at? What do you have going on? All the things, right? Because it's not just as simple as, yep, you can just do that tomorrow. I have clients who do both. They use speaking to sell their services or their, consulting services, coaching services, whatever, books, products, services, online courses, things like that. And then I also have clients who are elevated enough in their career with, maybe the books that they have published or the different organizations that they worked with, where they can then step in and be the keynote speaker, be a breakout speaker at a conference and have that speaker fee attached as well. So there's different ways. If you think about it this way, if you think of speaking as like a deck of cards, you know how many, so I grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska. We played a lot of card games because a lot of indoor activities. Okay. So speaking, same thing, like speaking is the deck of cards, but how do you play? What game are you playing is different. Paid speaking is different than waiving your fee speaking, which I would encourage you to think of it that way instead of free speaking. As long as I am speaking in front of a group that could potentially be my clients, I will do that speaking engagement because I personally make more money with that strategy and enjoy it more than negotiating the paid speaking situations. That's me. Every single person, even on this call, is going to have a different strategy. So that's what I work with people on, is like, what makes sense for you? Where are you at? Because as you know, if you're in consulting, you probably are aware we have resistance in our minds about things, right? And if you've never sold a certain level of a price point, then you're going to have resistance to that, especially when you're selling yourself. So I always want to make sure, like, what kind of floaties do we need on? Can we jump in the pool in the deep end? Are we on the high dive, or are we just like getting in the water with the floaties? Like, where are we at with that? So that's what I work with people on. Okay. So yeah. And Charles says you can start with trade shows which are not paid, then have a few companies might ask you to present them. Yes. There's all different kinds of ways that you can do this. Okay. So let's keep this show going. Thank you for all their contributions. All righty. So make sure to put that in your homework if you are desiring more speaking engagements. And if you're wanting those paid engagements, then you're going to align yourself with a speaker soulmate who's in that realm. This would be more corporate. This would be more employees, conventions, conferences, things like that. here's the place where you can actually find a speaker soulmate. It's at the OC Speakers Network. I had mentioned that earlier. We meet virtually. I'll give you, everyone here gets a free ticket. You get a ticket. You get a ticket. I'm Oprah today. Okay. And you get a free pass. We meet virtually the first Tuesday of the month. And it's from 1 to 3 Pacific. We have different topics that we speak on, but more importantly, we also have a time at the end where we do speaker referral circles, because I know the pain of being a speaker and going like, oh, I don't know how, like Gabrielle's like, well, I know some networking things, but I don't really know who would be my speaker soulmate. Well, you might find your speaker soulmate at the OC Speakers Network. That happens all the time. Things start flying back and forth because now you're in a pool of people who are all wanting and understanding like the pain of being a speaker or the excitement of being a speaker, the joy of being a speaker. And we want to help each other out. For me, if I'm not, I'm lucky to be here with all of you today. I'm not going to be here every single month. Well, I hope my other friends and speaker soulmates are, if their message is appropriate for all of you, I hope that then you get to see their expertise and that really helps you. And that's how I would feel about anybody that I know. So I want you to have the same thing. You're welcome to just hold your phone up and do the QR code. Now that we've had the pandemic, we all know how to use those QR codes for the most part. Or there's a link here. And I think I gave Sean the link to put in the chat as well. Okay, let's move on. I'd love to see you there. Let me know if you're going to come. And you just
that link is in the chat.
Oh,
Lisa.
thank you so much. Thank you. All right. I'm going to bring Sean with me to all my speaking engagements now. See, Sean, you're hired. You got another job.
I can be your workout buddy.
You're Remington Steele. Okay.
I'll be the Laura, I think, in this situation.
Yeah, you're Laura. I'm Remington. All right. So now a lot of times people wonder like, okay, well, I got the speaking engagement, but I didn't get any clients. Oh, how sad. So how do we do that? How do we actually increase getting your clients? And this is where I'm going to have you do some of the homework in class. So 2 speaker strategies that I think are super simple. You've probably heard these before, but maybe haven't really used them intentionally, especially in speaking. And when I say speaking, it could be like you're at a thing where you get to introduce yourself for a minute or 30 seconds, or you're at the grocery store, you're at a barbecue, whatever. I got a speaking engagement from a barbecue and I spoke at Allergan, and it was a paid gig. They happen to have their headquarters. One of their headquarters is here in Irvine, California. And it was to all the women in Allergan. That's pretty cool for being in a barbecue. So I want you to be prepared no matter where you are to say like, here's what I speak on. This is what I do. So people understand, oh, hey, especially if you're in Silicon Valley, I know some of you are in that area. There's stuff everywhere. And guess what? People who work in Silicon Valley and those big corporations, they also go to the grocery store. So you just always want to be prepared. I'm not saying to hang out at the grocery store to get gigs. That is not what I'm saying, but we all need to eat. So the way I think about this metaphorically, it's kind of fun. Peanut butter jelly, you can have peanut butter by itself. You can have jelly by itself. You can have it together. Either way. So when I talk about these 2 strategies, I want you to think, how could I use them separate? How could I use them together? What feels better for me? Which one's good? Now, both of them are sticky. And that's the whole point. We want you to be in a situation where people go, oh, that's what Sean does. Oh, that's what Norma does, right? Oh yeah. Hey, wait, I know someone who does this thing, who could speak here, or who could be your consultant for that. You should talk to so-and-so. That's what we're looking for. So the first strategy is you share how you solve problems. And here's where I'm going to actually stop the share and allow you to put this in the chat. And I want you to think about, before you start chatting, before you start putting it in there, I want you to think about a really great client that you had. Maybe it's someone recent, doesn't need to be recent. It could be a long time ago, who they called you. You were on that conversation with them, that first conversation, and they were really sharing all the things they were stressed out about or dealing with, frustrated with. Then they said, you are my solution. I want to hire you. What problem did you solve for them? So this is a little bit of a noodle cooker. Like you're like, what problem did I solve for that person? And that's what I want you to be thinking about, and just real briefly putting in the chat. We don't need the whole novel, right? Just a quick, like, they were frustrated with this. We helped them with that. And while you're thinking, I'll even add an example here, because I think your subconscious mind can accept both and kind of do both things at the same time. Let's see here. Debbie says, Oh, cool. So you guys are already doing it. I loved it. Oh, good, 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 good. There we go. Now we're cooking. So one of the problems people will come to me with is they're really, really brilliant. They know they want to be speaking. They feel called to speak. They've dreamed about it. Maybe they've even done a little bit, but just something's not working. So they're feeling frustrated, feeling like maybe you should give up. Like, I don't know. Is this speaking thing really work? I don't know. I'm tired of speaking for free and not getting paid. You know, those are the kind of problems people will come to me with. And then what we do is we get their talk ready to rock. We figure out, okay, what's the holes in the boat here? Where are you missing opportunities? One of my clients went from $0 to $18,000 in instant sales. She didn't even have to do any phone calls, no strategy calls, because of the things, the holes that were in the boat that we fixed in our time together. And that was just in a couple hours. So I love like getting in there and go like, okay, what's missing? A lot of times what's missing is we just haven't had enough sales experience. And when it comes down to speaking, guess what you're doing? You are selling yourself. Whether you signed up to be a salesperson or not, as an entrepreneur consultant, that's kind of what one of our roles. Yes. Yeah. I remember when I was I was getting recruited by an executive recruiter and he's like, you should be in sales. And I said, oh, no, I don't want to do this. Do not put me down for sales. What did I end up doing? Sales. Okay. So let's read here. I want to point out, I love Priyanka. She said, I saved them 10 months in, I'm actually assuming Priyanka is a woman, but I can't see you. So hopefully I'm right. I saved them 10 months of time and research. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Perfect, right? 10 months. That's a long time. So they were probably really frustrated and overwhelmed of wondering, how are we going to solve this problem? And then they found her. That's good. Norma says scaling growth with partners. Okay. So then Norma put in, what's the problem if they're not scaling with partners, like what's the problem that they have? You know what I mean? Like, how would I know to identify that? Okay, cool. Steve put productizing an EMR product. Same thing. I'm not sure what the problem, because I don't know what that means. Okay. We want to make it like, this is like the grocery store test, right? Like we know our stuff so well. We can like industry jargon and stuff like that. It's like you're a third grader, right? Like, how can we explain it like we're a third grader? Sean, go ahead.
Can I maybe a suggested test?
Yes.
What would the client say you did?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ellen Grace, I helped double the client annual revenues by expanding their view of the customer needs. Cool. I like that. Okay. Excellent. So, and then Ellen, what would be the problem that they came to you for? Like, were they saying, we need to increase our revenues? We're not sure what's wrong with our customer service, that kind of thing. Do you want to tell us what they said?
They weren't meeting their revenue numbers,
Okay.
and they needed to connect to their audience differently. So I did a bunch of customer research too, and including day in the life, to help them expand their view of what the customer needed from them, and then they could deliver a broader set of products and services to appeal to that customer.
I love it. So if you caught at the very beginning, it was like, revenue is not up. What do we do? Like what? And so they didn't know when they called you that they needed all those things probably, right? You had to go, let me take a look. Let me analyze it. Let me see, get in there, get my hands in there. And then, okay, here's my proposal of what needs to happen. Is that?
Yes. Yeah.
Roughly
And
what happened?
I put a second example in there as well, where I had a client who was losing business or had the threat from significant customers to be leaving because the customers weren't getting what they needed. And it was in some ways a simple fix, but getting people to listen to the customer.
Love it. And just like an electrician, sometimes it's a simple fix, but the electrician's the one that knows which wire to cut, right? It's just cutting a wire. But if you cut the wrong wire, that could be detrimental.
Right. And just to clarify, it was a conceptually simple fix, but it took a lot of work to shift the company's perspective.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So you were there with that certainty that they needed because they were just bleeding out probably or something. They're scared because they're going to lose this big customer. And you're like, okay, voice of reason. I've done the research. If we do then we can, and I know this is a big change, but let me walk you through it. Right. So you have that calm voice of reason. I'm making some assumptions here by your demeanor.
Yes. Thank
Very
you.
good. Excellent. So now we can think, when we think of Ellen Grace, we can think like, oh, someone's about to lose a really big customer, or their customers are falling off, or they're having customer retention problems. Ellen Grace is probably a really good person to go in there and do that research, right? Okay, let's see. I'm not going to be able to read all these, but you guys get the idea, and you can beg, borrow, and steal from each other here too, right? Charles, you've got can't do parametric test at wafer. This is like some high tech stuff, I right?
It's all about temperature control.
There you go. So they're like, we have a big problem because we can't move forward because we haven't passed this quality section, and the project is not doing well. Yes. Okay. Great. Okay, good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the peanut butter and the jelly together, or well, I'll show you the next piece. And we're just going to keep this conversation going. Don't worry if you didn't get a turn. Oh, it's okay. So that was our first one. So think of how you solve those problems. Like, what did that person say to you? And then what did you do for them? Now the jelly is sharing stories, right? So it's really fun to actually combine these two together. And I'll share an example. Here's one thing that you can notice when you're speaking. If you say like, let me tell you a story, we're just going to kind of lean in. We may not even be physically leaning in, but we're like, oh, story time. Cool. I want to hear that. Right. That's why reality TV is so popular, because we want to see the makeover. They started this way and then they looked that way. Oh my gosh, we can't turn away. Right. So we're definitely motivated by stories. So I had a client come to me a few years back, super, super confident. I mean, she's been in music videos with Lady Gaga, J-Lo, Justin Bieber, Katy Perry. I mean, she's not shy. She's very out there. However, she had never actually done speaking. She would go to events and see people, and she'd buy these programs. Someone's like, oh, I've got this program to help you grow your business. And she'd buy the program, but she was like, how do I do that? How do I be on that stage and like actually sell my stuff without going off track too much? And she has a very, very big personality. So we needed to find a way to make it easy for her to remember her points, stay on time, land the plane on time, not get too overwhelmed, and make sure the audience had something tangible that they could do to the next step to work with her. So we got her talk ready to rock. We went through all the points, made sure she had a PowerPoint that was ready, and a place where people could go to for that final, this is the call to action. She spoke for her very first time. She spoke in front of 100 people, this event that she had put together, and was able to actually fill her programs. Now, what's cool about speaking, this was several years ago. She's since changed her business model a few times and changed her industry, but she's still able to make a talk now because it's the same type of rhythm. It's just a different lessons that she's teaching, and she's comfortable. She's done 5-day challenges. She's spoken internationally. She's got an international best-selling book. So it's just something she can use forever and ever and ever. So that's a kind of exciting way that you can talk about a story. Now, I don't have this written down. I am just speaking from the heart. I've told the story a few times, but it doesn't sound memorized. I hope it doesn't, because I'm just sort of telling it a little bit different every single time. So this is also this is like a double bonus lesson here. If I don't think anyone in this room would do it, but sometimes I think we get a little nervous about speaking. We think it has to be perfect. So we want to write it out and just read from something. And I don't know about you. Have you ever been in a talk, like a meeting like this, and you know the person's literally reading all the words? Have you ever felt that or seen that? Oh, it's so painful.
Just the other day, literally earlier
Yeah.
this week, I attended a online event where the person was obviously reading. It was not perception, it was reality.
Yeah, it's so, don't do that, because right, you want to be able to know where you're taking people, have a like, we're going on this tour and here's where we're going to end up, but they're not here to listen to you read, right? They want to learn and be engaging, and you sort of lose the tonality in your voice a little bit. There are times when, yes, you need to have a memorized thing. Like if you're doing a TED Talk, it's got to be memorized. I know that's how it goes. Or if you're reading the Oscar nominee is going to, yes, you better stick to the script. But when you're talking about your expertise, you already know your stuff. You just need to make it in bite-sized pieces so people can actually grab it. Okay, so let's see here. Let me just, Charles, I'd love to be in your brain. You're so smart. Oh my God. Okay. Can't even imagine. All right, cool. All right, so what we'll do is I'm going to go through the next piece about the monetization, and then we can circle back. If anyone has questions about like, oh, can I share this story, or do you need help with this story? Please chime in. And if any extra time that we have towards the end, we can do that. Does anyone have that in their head? Like, oh, I'm not sure what problems I solve or what story. If you want any refinement on that, I'm happy to do that. And Priyanka says, I have a question. I come from India with a different accent. Is that an impediment in the US by any chance? I don't think so. But here's what I have found. A lot of times there aren't, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you have a fear of public speaking, but what I will say is that a lot of people have issues with public speaking, and it's typically because of childhood stuff. Like maybe someone made fun of, I don't, there's a million ways to be humiliated as a child, right? Like you can go up to the chalkboard and put the wrong answer and people are laughing, or you have to read out loud, but maybe you're not really a great reader. And so then people, kids come make fun of each other, or you just get in trouble. There's so many ways that we can be affected and worry about how we sound. And when we speak multiple languages, that can be another way, because maybe we're afraid of, not assimilating or people misunderstanding us. So, I haven't heard you speak a lot, but I would imagine you're an attorney at this point. I imagine you've had quite a bit of success at this point. You're here. So I would say, I would just put that to the side and go forth, girl. Just do your thing, because we here, especially here in the United States, oh my gosh, we have so many people with so many different ways of speaking. All right. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let's keep going here. Yeah. Yeah, childhood humiliations. Yeah, it's a whole nother Oprah, right? Whole nother Oprah. Oh my gosh, so many things. I was hired by a company one time to, it's a social media company, and they would retain the client. So they'd have the sale was complete, but then they would have to present the proposal to the client. So client's already in, they're excited, they can't wait to get started. The team who was developing the content, were developing this amazing content, as a collective had massive anxiety about that proposal process and actually speaking. So we had a deep dive, and I had one of the gals shared with me, she as a child stopped speaking for 2 years because someone had told her they liked the sound of her accent, and they wanted her to do kind of like, oh, say that again, I love your accent, which was probably an innocent thing, but as a child that just really affected her, and she stopped talking for 2 years. So yep, we can have some very deep trauma about our voice and speaking. Okay, so let's talk, speaking of fears, let's talk about money. Yeah, so that's a whole different thing that we have issues with too. But I want to give you this simple monetization formula so that you can start to see where this might fit into your consulting business, or maybe where you need to make some tweaks. So the first step, price your product or service. And this can be kind of tricky because you might be thinking, well, it depends on the client. Each one's customizable. They're all different. Okay, I get it. You're average, right? Like you maybe put the lowest together and the highest together, kind of what's your typical price point. Just pick a nice even number. So if it's 10,000, put 10,000, or if it, 5,000, 1,000, 20,000, whatever that average thing that you're offering, that contract is, put that in there. This is going to be different for everybody. Okay. Now I want you to think about the number of speaking engagements you feel like you could do each year. Most of my clients do 2, 3, or 4 speaking engagements a month. So we're talking 24, 36, 48, maybe, would be on the higher side. This can be virtual, it can be in person, it can be paid, it can be not paid. Like, don't worry too much about all the little details, but like, imagine if you were in front of your ideal clients, a group of your ideal clients, where might they be hanging out? Okay, that's where I would imagine you'd be speaking. Especially if it's virtual, you literally click the button. So if you have time to be at this meeting, you have time to be speaking, in my opinion. Now, traveling, that's a whole nother, that's maybe you do once a month or once a quarter, something like that, depending on what other responsibilities you have. All right, now I want you to think about the number of clients you could attract per gig. Like, let's say you've got your talk ready to rock, it's like it's all dialed in. That talk is going to lead to that next step for those clients to take whatever, have a phone call with you. Maybe they do, like, I have a speaker readiness assessment. So it's like, oh, let's have a conversation. Are you ready to start speaking? What do you need to do to be ready? What do you have so far? Where's it not working? That's what I talk to my clients about in the readiness assessment. It's like, okay, let's find out what's going on. Are we a fit? We're going to talk about that. So number of clients, because I'm imagining in this group, you're probably a little bit higher ticket, in the thousands range. So maybe pick 1 to 5. Like, it doesn't need to be a ton. This is where it starts to get really simple, really fast. And then we're going to multiply them all together. So I'm going to give you some examples, then we'll actually run it through yourself, your own example. So let's just say, for simplicity's sake, you got $1,000 product or service. Let's say you speak 24 times a year. Let's say you attract a couple of clients each time. That's 48 clients a year. That's not including additional sales or residual sales or anything like that. It's just like that one-time sale. So that's $48,000. That's not bad. That's better than a sharp stick in the eye, right? Like, hey, not too bad, especially if you're virtual speaking. It's an hour of your time here or there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now, here's another example. Let's say you got a little bit higher price point, especially in consulting. You're probably dealing with a little bit bigger contracts. You don't need as many. Say you still do the same amount of speaking engagements, but now you're a little bit higher price point. You're a little more focused on who you're getting, who's going to be in your wheelhouse there. 1 client a gig, so that's 24 extra clients a year. Now we're talking $120,000. That's good. Yes. Okay. So yeah, thank you, Charles. So now you're going to fill your own in. Maybe you've already been doing this. So just you don't need to put this in the chat. Not outing anyone, but I would want to hear from you if you want to share your number. I'd love that. But if it's a little higher, you're like, what? Oh, okay. Now maybe I need to be paying attention to this. It's a little bit more like, holy smokes, I probably have a lot of things people could benefit from. So select, 12, 24, or 36. How many times a month do you think you'd speak? Once, twice, or 3 times? And then pick a number between 1 and 5. How many clients do you think you could feasibly imagine attracting, right? If you've got you're in the right room with the right people, with the right talk, you've got all the things, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, you're ready to go. What would be that speaker sales potential for you? Okay. I wish someone had done this for me many years ago. It was never broken down to me. It's like, so simple. It's crazy how simple this is. Yes, it's a barometer. It's not an exact, but it gives you a lot of information. Like, I'm thinking Ellen Grace, who's like the researcher queen here. Like, it gives you a lot of information, but like, well, if I tweak this number over here and move that one over there, you can start to see, does this make sense for you? And you can evaluate in 9 months or 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. Did that work for me? What holes were in the boat? Okay. So let me just check the time. Oh, we are tracking so well. All right. So let's see. What did you come up with? Oh yeah. Ellen Grace, upwards of $300,000 a year potential. That's awesome. Right? We start thinking, why am I working so hard? Like, what if I just actually found the right people at the right spot, got to go in, be the star of the show? Shoot, you could get all different kinds of opportunities from a speaking engagement. You could get, what's a great way to get more speaking engagements is actually speaking. Because then people go, I really loved what you said. Could you come on and speak here, here, and here? Right? You get that handshake, virtual or otherwise, with the leaders of the organization, the management team, the people who are engaged, who are invested in that. Okay. All right, let me see. I Steve sent me a question, but I can't read the whole thing right now, but I will read it, Steve. Okay. Oh, hey, look at that. I see how easy that was, you guys. Ellen just invited me to come speak at Women in Consulting. Hey, yay. Thank you, Ellen. Make sure to put your information in the chat so that we can connect. I love that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay. Who else was surprised by the number of their speaker sales potential? Did anyone get a good number there? A little bit? No, nothing. Okay. Are your hands glued down? Okay. All right. Let's go back to this last one. We'll wrap this up for y'all. All right. So in review, we talked about the steady stream of speaking referrals, that speaker soulmate. So your homework, if you should choose to accept this assignment, find a couple people, not a ton, talking a couple people who might fit the bill for you if you're going to go out there and speak. You're dating them, right? You're just like checking in. Do they like this idea? What do you think? Are you willing to do that? This one relationship could set you up for years to come. I want you to start considering a speaker. I call it a story library and a problem library. Like if you're going to be on podcasts, radio shows, go and speak, go and network. These are great things to have in your pocket. It's almost like having keys in your pocket. Just like, oh, let me pull this story out. Let me pull this story out. Let me pull this problem out, right? And how you're being engaged with and how you engage with other people. Very, very powerful. And then we have that speaker monetization formula. Like, should I be doing this? Does this make sense? I think it does. Let's do this. So hopefully that has been really valuable for you today. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to connect with me. This is the speaker readiness assessment. I mentioned it earlier. This is an opportunity for us we have an hour call together. I like to really get in there. Let me see, pull the car into the garage. Let's see what we've got. What are we dealing with? Do you want to keep speaking and speak more, but you're just not quite sure what the next steps are? You're a little confused. Maybe you've had a little bit of success, but you'd like more of it. Or you went out there, you thought you got excited, but maybe it didn't work so well. That's an opportunity for us to see what I can do to support you and get out there more. So you can go to the QR code. You can also just go to getspeakinggigsnow.com/chat. That takes you to the same place the QR code does. And there's some questions on there. I know I have a few openings, so grab a time that works for you. We'll chat. I am a very direct person. I'll ask questions based on whatever your situation is, and we'll decide together if we need to talk about what it would look like to work together. If not, that's okay too. I'm going to say, hey, have an amazing life and wishing you tons of magical and success. But if we do agree that we should talk about working together, we'll talk about that too. Okay, here's another way to access it. Same website, same QR code, getspeakinggigsnow.com. And that's that speaker readiness assessment. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. So make sure you grab it now. And I believe Sean will also put that in.
It's in the chat.
Yes, there we go. See, this is what I would call multi-layering your offer. All right. So if you're looking for any super speaker bonus tips, you just got one right there. All righty. Oh my gosh, 10 more messages. Cool. Oh, wow. I'm reading Charles. I'm getting caught up. You guys were already caught up. Very good. Excellent. Okay, so I have a big question from Steve. Steve, do you want to come off mute and just say your question? Maybe he can't. Said, what are your thoughts on choosing a few possible offerings to put forward in many possible consulting possibilities? So I'm just not sure what his exact question is. So I'm not sure.
Steve is a parallel entrepreneur. He's got like 8 things cooking at any one time. I think he's trying to figure out which of his many facets he puts forward, how to decide what to feature, and then
okay,
how to showcase that. Right?
Okay. Yeah, that is where it really, you want to always not confuse your audience. So you can have, even if you have multiple lanes, you would maybe market them in different capacities depending on what the audience is. So this is where I would like to probably a one-on-one conversation is more valuable, because I'm like, okay, what do you have going on? Okay, which one's the easiest one to grab first? Like, where do we start? I don't know about all of you. Can you relate to wanting to build a Roman Empire, but yet you want it built yesterday, right? Like we want it, we can see the vision. We're like, I can see it. I can see the book and I can see the thing and all the stuff and all the things that we want to create, but we can't do it all at the same time or all in one day. So we just have to like pick one. So Steve, thanks for coming off mute. Did you want to clarify?
No, Sean did a perfect
Oh,
job. In
great.
fact, I'm going to bring him with me everywhere also. So I'm competing with you.
Very good. I've booked 2 speaking assignments. I can carry Lisa's books, and then I'll carry you around as well. And
There you go.
We'll share him.
There you go. He's worth sharing, definitely.
Sorry, Teresa, we're stealing Sean.
marketing minion.
I'm just kidding. All right, good.
I
Okay.
did.
Sean, you get to paint yourself yellow and wear really cool overalls and goggles as a
There we
marketing
go.
minion.
There
I'm
we
so
go.
excited.
So we do Lean Culture, we do PACA, we do a bunch of, I think that just maybe 2 points of clarity on this. I like the analysis, but these talks, they have to be like 98, 99% content,
Oh yeah.
1% pitch, right? In
Yeah.
other words, this is not a, and normally what you're getting is an invitation to a sales conversation, not we want to hire you, right? So I think
Right.
you're compressing the timeline a little bit. I mean, just
Yeah, it's kind of like looking out, like say you put a bunch of seeds out there in the in the soil, and you're going to see who pops up, like who's interested. And because especially in consulting, it's so individual, it's so customized to that company and their problems. But you also want to be, they might have that problem 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road. So you still want to be, remember that I talked about the stickiness factor, the peanut butter jelly factor. So you want to be sticky enough. Like pretty much I get referrals. Like I got a referral the other day from a guy who I have never met. He sends me people all the time. We've only met virtually. And even before that, we met before the pandemic virtually, like on the phone. And because he doesn't know anyone else who does speaking. So if anyone even like whispers speaking, he's like, you need to talk to Leisa. It's awesome. So you want to be known for whatever it is that you do. And yeah, you don't want to pitch anyone. No one likes that.
Yeah, and I'll just, as we're closing, add that I did this successfully like 20 years ago when I was Oracle business implementation analyst back in the painful days of Oracle. I think it's still painful. And I would go to their conferences. Someone mentioned conference, and I spoke at the conferences.
Yep.
And it was very, very specific and niche. And my challenge right now is trying to figure out where the niche is. And now that people are coming back in person, but back then I got science out of it. And, they'd see me talk about purchasing implementation, and then they heard me to do their purchasing implementation.
Absolutely.
So it was very, very specific and very niche.
I had a client who used to work for a popular software for bookkeeping. You can probably guess which one it was. And she would go out, same thing, like speak on all these big stages, all these things, all this, doing that. And she worked for that company or would represent that company. She had a personal tragedy in her life and completely shifted gears and started talking about grieving, and has this really cool model for corporate, like how do corporations deal with grief when something's happened to an employee? Like what's appropriate? What do we do? How do we help them? How do we keep business going? What do you do with that? And she came to me, not because she didn't know how to speak, she had all this great success, but she was like, does anyone want to talk about death and dying? Like, is that okay? Like, would anyone want to hear this? And so as we talked through it, it was like, absolutely, corporations need to hear that, right? Everyone knows someone who has passed away. Everyone has gone through something like that or will be going through something like that. So we want corporations to be prepared and mindful now that, that employee engagement is up and things like that. We want to retain people. So once she did that, she was able to, and she is a paid speaker. I think she got a $10,000 speaking engagement from that, and 2 $5,000 ones. I know we're approaching our time. So
other questions for Leisa before we wrap? We have time for one more question if somebody hasn't been able to get their thoughts in, or you can type it in the chat and I'll voice it, or you can unmute and voice it.
I have a question about, let's say a person does multiple podcasts or something.
Mhm.
How should they aggregate those? Where should they put those so that people can see not just, oh, Ellen just recently did a podcast, but oh, Ellen's done 10 podcasts. Let me listen to what she has to say.
Yeah, you can select them and put them on your website if you want. Like, I don't think you need to put every single podcast known to man that you've ever been on your website, but you could say like, oh, these are the 5, top 5 that I've done, or maybe you update it each year so that it's sort of fresh and new. That's one way to do it. Yeah. Cool.
Teresa wants me to add a plug that our next PATCA networking lunch is March 25th at noon, and the URL is in the chat as well. I want to thank everyone for coming today.